People, how much more can we take? Killing the DC real estate market. Is that what the shutdown's doing? You know what question I've heard nonstop lately? So, how's real estate holding up for you? All right, you guys, whether it's a Republican in office, layoffs, or the shutdown, we actually hear this a lot. And considering that the government is the largest employer in the entire DC metro area, nearly 1 in 4 local workers are employed by the government, the market is probably in free fall right now, right? There's some twists here. It's not a universal assumption that we can go with. I am Melissa Terzis, DC Real Estate Mama. I do all things real estate on this channel. I've been here for over 2 years, and I help people buy and sell houses in the DC metro area, to include Maryland and Virginia. So if you are interested in that, I'm going to put my contact information up here. Okay, let's get into this. So is the government shutdown tanking the DC housing market? If you're a visual person, I actually made a chart to better explain things. The short answer is it depends, but mostly no. People are actually surprised by this. So let's talk about why the answer is no. And this isn't just like me saying that things aren't crashing because this is how I make my living. I actually have multiple different sources here that I am going to cite. The main takeaway, though, is going to be this: DC is resilient. So watch this. All right, the ground zero of where we gather all of our information is from the big daddy of them all. It's Bright MLS. This is where 98% of all listings are posted. It's what we as real estate agents go to whenever we are going to list a property for sale. It's what you guys are actually looking at as well when you are surfing all the portals. And the reason for that is because MLS will feed that information to those portals like Zillow and Redfin, because the consumer doesn't actually have direct access to that, but you do through us. And that's where all of this information essentially is coming from. Okay, how are DC area buyers and sellers reacting to this shutdown? So let's cover some topside stats first, which include basically the entire region. So new listings for the past month, this is the region. So this is the region of the Washington, DC metro area. And for the past month, which is October 2025, new listings are up 6.3% over last year for the same time period. Now, zooming in to specific weeks, new listings are actually down almost 15% over last week. Now, some of this is to be expected, though, because shifts at this time of the year are highly dependent on weather and how close we are to the holidays. So I am actually advising my seller clients right now, hold tight if you can. We will list in the new year. Why is that? Guys, there's no new news here. It's the same reason year after year. Demand naturally wanes by late fall. You can list a house now and you can struggle to just get one buyer and one decent offer, or you could wait until January when a flood of buyers just kind of naturally come back to the market. Happens every year. As of the last week of October, pending contracts are up 6.2% in the DC area over last year. Last year was different, though. Last year, right now, we had a different president. There were no teenage Doge disciples, that's the Department of Government Efficiency, who were using a magic wand to decide the fate of thousands of government employees, and there was no government shutdown. Consumer sentiment, inarguably, was better a year ago than where we are right now, but here we are, and we have pending contracts that are up 6.2%. So Urban Turf, a local e-news publication that reports on real estate, actually summed up the Bright MLS data for the housing market like this. They said it's cracking, but it's not fractured. Okay. Now, prices have held steady, even in areas that typically feel the pressure first. Those areas are ones where they are just usually more geared and attractive to first-time buyers, basically because of price point. But there is still pent-up demand. The buyer activity indicates that lower mortgage rates, more homes for sale, and finally some room for negotiation have brought some of those buyers off the sidelines. I have several buyers right now who are not affected by the shutdown, and they are using this opportunity to secure a contract with terms more favorable to them than they maybe would have been able to achieve in the past. All right, so let's dive into this. Is the government shutdown killing the DC real estate market? I've been talking regionally so far. This is a tale of two cities. Let's look at each specific area. So DC, Maryland, or Virginia, what's happening there? I'm going to do DC first. So right now, inside the city limits, the market is very slow. The city seems to be affected by many factors. Bright MLS cites recent events like the National Guard presence in DC in August 2025, and now the government shutdown that we have in October 2025 as the prime factors that are affecting the market in the city. The truth is, the city has been struggling since COVID. That was the first strike when people decided that they wanted more space and yards, and they thought that work from home and remote work was here to stay. But it didn't end there. No, there was a parade of events that then happened that kind of landed us where we are now. Let's go to 2023. By 2023, people were not moving back into DC. And if they had thought about it, they quickly unthought about it. The homicide and carjacking numbers skyrocketed, hitting all-time highs that year. By the end of 2024, we have Trump reelected. Then in January came Doge layoffs, and then summer brought us the National Guard, and then October delivered us a shutdown. People, how much more can we take? I will be 100% honest with you, though, as I always am, and today shall be no different. First, I don't care what anybody says. We needed the National Guard. Yes, there was outrage. There was protests. There were a lot of people complaining that we need to be able to govern ourselves. I do not disagree in theory. That's what our founding fathers wanted. DC was set up to be separate and to function separately from the states. But when you have 10 to 15-year-old carjackers who are stealing cars by gunpoint, joyriding them, totaling them, and then getting a slap on the wrist, we needed help. Now, second, the National Guard, they were not deployed around the city in any meaningful way. August 29th from ABC Online, they said, Southeast DC residents question federal troop deployment as violence persists in wards 7 and 8. Okay, let's do a quick lesson on wards. DC has 8 wards. Wards 1 through 6 are on the west side of the Anacostia. Wards 7 and 8 are east of the river. East of the Anacostia, homes are priced significantly lower than the rest of DC. This area has just suffered with more crime compared to the other wards, farther away from things, but there are exceptions. Wards 7 and 8 have some really great leafy suburban feeling neighborhoods, some with fantastic city views and little crime. Then west of the river in Columbia Heights is in Ward 1. You've got right there, you've got one of the highest crime areas in the entire city. This isn't me spouting nonsense. We have DC crime maps. You can look them up. I even did a whole video on how to navigate our crime maps, and I will put that up there. Crime naps, geez, I'd love to fall asleep like in the middle of a crime and wake up and it's all over. In DC, new purchase contracts are down 12% compared to last year, and showing appointments down almost 15%. So that tells you the DC story. What is the government shutdown doing to Maryland and Virginia real estate markets? Well, Northern Virginia buyers are still showing up, you guys. Showings are up 6 to 7% in Arlington, Alexandria, and Fairfax County. Buyers are still out there. They're still writing offers, and yes, they are still competing, especially for anything that's like remotely move-in ready or in a prime location. Shutdown or not, people still need homes. Babies are still being born. Families are still relocating. Jobs are still transferring people into this market, and we are still short on inventory. Now, I am not in the 3 million plus luxury market, but the agents in my office who are kind of universally here report that there's no change there. It's just like business as usual. Things are still moving at the same pace as they have in the past, and that's really like that is to be expected, right? Those people are usually in the private sector. They're usually not in government or government contracting positions and not reliant on that. So I am working with several buyers in Maryland right now. Let's go over to the other side of the Potomac and see what's happening in Maryland. When it comes to new construction, There's lots of it in Maryland, but things are selling slower. So builder incentives kind of run the gamut, and it's ultra important to price everything out because of what I call the builder shuffle. They offer this awesome sounding credit of $20,000 or $30,000, but what they don't tell you is that they aren't paying any of their closing costs. You, as the buyer, have to use their lender, and you get to pay all of the closing costs just to use that incentive. And then their lender is always exorbitantly expensive. So they're going to find ways to recover that money anyway. They're not just handing you $30,000. There is no free lunch. They are absolutely going to get that back from you, and they do. So right now, I'm actually cautioning people against new builds. Not all builders are created equal, though. Like, I've seen some of the builders who have land development in-house have better pricing than those who buy finished lots from developers. It's definitely a weird disparity. As I was sitting here getting ready to record this video, one of those builders called and said, "Are your clients interested?" I was like, "Your prices are too high. They found something better." And that's because that particular builder, they don't develop their land. They just buy finished lots, and the money's always in the land. We've gone through this in other videos about land development and all of that stuff. So builders are reporting foot traffic is down, so you definitely want to watch for added incentives, and it might be time to start negotiating things. Over in the Maryland resale market, about half of what I see with clients has a contract within a week. So we went out, looked at 8 houses, 4 of them within a week are under contract. In Virginia, things aren't lasting long enough to even go see them in some cases. So they're going, still a lot of it's going under contract in like under 10 days. So when I work with sellers right now, I'm telling them that if selling is the most important issue, then you have to price aggressively so that you don't sit on the market. With buyers, I am encouraging them to enjoy the time to take a breather, think overnight instead of having to make quick decisions, but don't think for too long because there are enough other buyers out there who can and will go snap it up. So why is the market not crashing? Resilience, you guys. The DC metro market is one of the most resilient in the country. Federal instability, we live with it. It is baked into our market cycle like humidity in August. You can tell it's not August because my hair's not frozen. What really drives our market isn't fear, it's fundamentals. Limited housing inventory, high demand in desirable neighborhoods, strong school systems, walkability, commute times, and quality of life. And then when people find the right house, they're not putting on the brakes just because of some like congressional drama. There are a lot of smart people here, and they know from decades of being here, this too shall pass. So we've seen shutdowns before, not our first rodeo. This is, however, the longest one that we've seen. So yes, there's anxiety in the air, especially in a region like DC where a quarter of the jobs are tied to the federal government. Right now, though, the data is showing a dip in pace, not a plunge in prices. So here's my advice, whether you are buying or selling. Buyers, do not let headlines distract you from a solid opportunity. It might be your window to get into a neighborhood that's normally hyper competitive. I am looking at you, Bethesda, Maryland. Sellers, do not panic. Yes, pricing matters more right now than anything else, but so does condition. Buyers are cautious, but they're not gone. If your home is well staged, well priced, in good shape, you are going to get foot traffic and activity. And if it's not, that is a strategy conversation that we need to have. I am Melissa Terzis. My contact info is coming next.